like that was out there. So I thought, all right, well, how can I do this? So I went and I wrote this little script that scraped the course catalog and let people put in what classes they wanted, and I called it the course graph. And that was actually the first time. Yeah, I mean, it was actually, I made the mistake of running the website from a laptop in my dorm room, and my desk was right next to the bathroom when there was like constantly steam pouring out of that from people showering, so the laptop actually fried, and I lost that one after like a few weeks of it running. But that was the first time that I'd ever really set up a production, Apache server or MySQL server or a lot of that stuff, and then, a lot of those things, then when I went on to build later stuff, I had those lessons and I knew that I could set those things up quickly, so those were just building blocks on top of which to build future things.
Did people put their classes in it? Did you use it to decide what to do?
No, it was like 1,000 or 2,000 people out of,
really?
It was like 6,000 people at Harvard.
Yeah.
Did it. Yeah. So, I mean, it worked fine. It was actually really interesting. People spent so much time just clicking through the links of people to see what classes they were in, and then in the classes they clicked on people who were the roster of the people, and I thought it was going to be interesting, and I wanted to solve this problem, but it was actually just way more compelling. And part of my theory at the time was, I looked at all the other types of content that were out there on the internet, right? It's like you could search for any music or news or content or reference material that you wanted, but part of my theory at the time was that people were really missing from the internet. Right, and there were no services like that, and that's why I built some of these services that went in that direction. But I still think people are largely missing from a lot of the software that we build, which is why I'm focused on building this development platform today as part of Facebook, so that way the next generation of software that the industry builds can just be more human.
So every app that people build has this sort of additional dimension now, where you can sort of see what other people are doing too.
We're trying to go in that direction.
So you knew by the time you started Facebook that if you made some website, you could get thousands of people to show up to it.
Well, I didn't have a choice. I knew that if I wanted to do this, that I had to build something that would get people to use it. I didn't know if I could actually do that.
But it must have been a little bit surprising that thousands of people showed up and put their courses on, right? And if people would show up for something that wasn't even intended to draw thousands of people, you could probably do it again, right?
Well, yeah, and then I did a few more, and I was really focused on this idea of channeling a community's energy to build some kind of shared asset, whether it's the course graph or ultimately Facebook was a good example of this. I mean, one of my favorite stories from college that I think I've told at startup school before is I built the first version of Facebook during reading period, which is basically this 2 or 3 week period that Harvard, I don't know if they still give this, but basically,
they don't.
Yeah, I think they stopped. But,
shocking.
Well,
both Microsoft and Facebook started during reading period.
Yeah, so Harvard likes canceling things that work.
Yeah.
So basically, it's this period during January before your finals where you can ostensibly study for classes for your finals. And I took that period to write the first version of Facebook. I don't think I'd written any code for that project directly until really January, and then by the end of January, I was basically done with it. But then one day, I woke up a couple of days before this final for this class that I was taking called the Rome of Augustus. It was this lit in arts class, and the
Sato Company.
Mark Zuckerberg's story starts on the banks of the Hudson River, an hour away from New York and its bustle. It's here in Dobbs Ferry, an elegant and peaceful suburb of 10,000 inhabitants, that Mark Zuckerberg grew up. With his parents and his 3 sisters, Mark grew up normally in this typical American house. His father, a dentist, had his office on the ground floor, where he is still practicing, as if nothing had happened in the last 7 years, as if the staggering success of his son Mark had in no way changed the tenor of his family life. Edward Zuckerberg, nicknamed Painless Dr. Z by his patients, never answered our request for an interview, so we turned up for an unexpected visit. And surprise, surprise, no secretary. Mark's father, Edward Zuckerberg himself, opened the door. Like his son, he cultivates a very simple appearance. No suit, he dresses simply for work. Very soon, we noticed a little Facebook sign inviting us to become a fan of the surgery. If nothing seems to have changed in 7 years in this modest-looking practice, that's only an impression, and it explains Dr. Zuckerberg's silence.
I mean, if it didn't go any further than there, then they have no interest in going any further.
Yeah, I mean, I understand they always have to clear it.